Alright, picture this. You just got that shiny new S-rank character that you were hoping to get, and you can't wait to use them in Shiyu Defense. So, you go to level them up, but you're only able to get them to level 50 before realizing that you are now broker than Nicole. And also, you don't even have enough XP to get them to level 60 anyway. Don't worry, I and many others have been in this exact scenario. And today, I'm going to show you how to avoid this exact situation by going over how you can pre-farm to prepare for upcoming units, and also how to upgrade your units efficiently. First, let's go over how much it actually takes to max out a character. This is so you know how much to get if you're going to pre-farm for somebody. To make things easier, I'm going to assume that you already have the drive discs and W engine or Wengen ready for them, as that would be a whole lot more to farm for, and that's a whole different story. Now, as for the character level, the way the game tricks you into bankruptcy is that at first, leveling up a character doesn't seem that expensive, but it increases exponentially. So you'll be mashing the upgrade button out of excitement for your new character, and then the next thing you know, to increase the agent's max level to 60, now you need 400,000 Dennies and 450,000 agent EXP. Literally the same amount that it took you to get there in the first place. Not only that though, but in total, you'll need 4 basic certification seals, 32 advanced certification seals, and 30 of the highest tier certification seals. Now, if we assume that you started out with literally no materials whatsoever, how much energy do you think it would take to get enough of these resources to get a character up to level 60? Well, if we assume that you always get the maximum number of drops from the various HIA runs, which we all know is not true, but let's be optimistic here. In total, it would take an equivalent of 2,410 stamina to get everything that you need. And since you get 300 stamina per day, including the daily coffee, that is more than a full week of farming just to get someone to level 60. Next up is the core passive, which is usually what really makes them unique as an agent. And pre-farming for this is quite a hassle too, because this requires the notorious hunt drops, which you are only limited to 3 runs per week. So, if you want to max them out, you need to start preparing relatively early for them. But in order to max out a core skill up to rank F, you will need a total of 405,000 Dennies, 9 of the associated notorious hunt materials, and 60 of the purple expert challenge materials. And once again, half of the total amount that you need is only for the very last upgrade up to rank F. Again, converting all of this into a stamina equivalent, it is 564 stamina, or just under 2 days of farming. A lot more manageable, at least compared to the agent level. And then last but certainly not least are the actual skill levels. And this is a big resource sink. To max out a skill to level 12, aside from the limited hamster cage pass that you would need, you also need a total of 500,000 Dennies, 5 basic chips, 15 advanced chips, and 50 specialized chips. Converting all of this to energy one more time, that is 960 energy, or just over 3 days, and that is just for one single skill out of 5. So basically, if you want to truly max out a character, you need to start farming for almost a whole month before their banner. Now, of course, this is a bit of an exaggeration, as there are events that give us a decent amount of rewards, and we have gotten freebies every now and then, for example from Shuyen, or recently the little gift package from Jane, which now in hindsight kind of looks like the equivalent of a modern day Happy Meal with how quickly those materials were used up. But like I said though, this is if you want to fully max out a character. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you why you probably don't want to actually be doing this, and specifically the optimal stopping points to get the most bang for your buck when it comes to spending resources on agents. First, let's talk about priority. Absolutely no matter what, agent levels should be your very first priority. Even though it may not seem like that much of an upgrade to their base stats when leveling them up, just the fact that you are a higher level will increase your damage, as the level difference between you and the enemy is actually taken into account when doing damage. So basically, higher levels means higher damage. Increasing your agent level is actually also a requirement to increase your core skill to certain ranks, normally at the 25, 35, 45, and 55 ranks. Now, that being said, you don't have to get everyone to level 60. After all, we saw how expensive it can be. So the only characters that you truly need to be level 60 are your main DPS units. As for your supports, they don't need to be level 60. Obviously, it can help, but they can very comfortably sit at lower levels, as for the most part, since they are supports, They just provide utility which is independent of their level. Now, of course, depending on the agent, the support capabilities are probably improved with an increase in their levels and thus an increase in their core skill. For example, Nicole's defense shred increasing as her core passive goes up, but for the most part, it is less impactful than just leveling your DPS. Some other agents to look into upgrading are also your stunners, since similar to DPS, the amount of days being built up is also a factor of the level difference between your agent and the enemy. You can very easily leave most of your supports at around like level 50. You don't really need to spend twice the amount of materials to get an extra 10 levels after all. Now, as for the core skill and regular skills, this is actually going to be where you can save arguably the most amount of materials. As for quite a few of these things, you can very safely lead them at a low level. First, regardless of the character, the optimal stopping point for character skills are level 8. This is because to get a skill to level 8, you only need 95,000 dennies, 5 basic chips, 15 advanced chips, and only 5 specialized chips, significantly less than going all the way to level 12. If you do this, you can very easily get all 5 skills to level 8 before you were even able to get a single skill to level 12. Now, that being said though, you might not even need to upgrade some skills at all. This is going to be a bit more agent specific. For example, supports. You barely ever use Nicole's basic attack, so you can very safely avoid upgrading that at all. This is in contrast to, say, Seth, who, let's face it, he's basically a support. He actually uses his enhanced basic attack pretty often, so you would actually want that to be leveled up a bit for him. Alternatively, there's Shuyen, who rarely uses her dodge counters, so these can also be left at a low level. And in fact, my Jane Doe here is a perfect example of wasting a lot of resources. Since she is an anomaly unit, a lot of her damage comes specifically when she triggers that assault, not from her skills or her basic attacks. All of these things are just a way to build up the anomaly for that assault to trigger. And for all of these skills, upgrading them does increase the damage dealt, yes, and it does increase the amount of days dealt, but it doesn't really help with the anomaly buildup, and that is where most of the damage comes from. It's not like I'm relying on my basic attack or my skills to crit like I am for Shuyen. So honestly, I could have kept these skills at level 1 and Jane Doe would have probably functioned very similarly to how I have her now. Also, if you're wondering what skills to upgrade per character, maybe you should consider subscribing to the channel for when I upload character guides. That way you'll know what to invest in and what not to invest in. While we're talking about Jane, let's go over the core skills as well. Like the regular skills, you can very safely keep these at around a rank E passive. Again, because that last rank literally requires the same amount of materials that it took you to get there in the first place. Think of it like this. You could upgrade someone's core skill to level F, or you could raise up somebody else's passive all the way from base to rank E. Once again though, Jane is a bit of an example of what not to do, as you should really be checking to see what you're actually getting when you upgrade a core skill, and see if it's worth it or not. And for Jane, if you read the description, increasing her core skill essentially just increases the crit chance of her assault triggers. It does not increase the damage done at all. And for me personally, at rank E, I essentially have a 97% crit chance on my assaults, and that's before any other anomaly proficiency buffs. Yes, the extra anomaly stats are nice on the upgrades, but I could have easily gotten away with a much lower core skill rank, while still getting those crits. Compare this to, say, Nicole, who gets extra defense shred every single time her core passive is upgraded. This is something much more impactful. However, what you'll notice is that you get diminishing returns as you upgrade these skills. Initially, Nicole's passive increases by 5% at a time, but then it only increases by 2% at the later levels. So you end up paying significantly more for a lot less. Typically, I would say that a good stopping point is rank D for your core skills. This way, you only use a total of 2 Notorious Hunt drops, 15 Expert Challenge drops, and only 105,000 dennies. Now, in comparison to maxing out an agent, if we instead only aim for a level 60 agent, because again, levels matter a lot, with a core skill rank of only level D and all 5 skills at just level 8, but again, you can probably get away with keeping some of those skills at an even lower level. Let's have a look at how much we need to farm now. Now, you will still need the nearly 1 week of farming for the agent level 60, but now it only takes half a day and essentially 1 week's worth of Notorious Hunt sessions for the core skill, and also just under 1 day per skill that you want to get to level 8, cutting down the amount of time that you need to raise a character in nearly half, and that's before even taking into consideration any other rewards from events and stuff like that. Now, of course, this is all being said because I'm sure we are all a bit strapped for resources at the moment. I would love to be able to upgrade everyone in my roster to try out all the different characters, but I'm sure in the future, once enough events have occurred and we've all been able to get a nice stockpile of resources, this material drought will hopefully be a thing of the past. Otherwise though, thank you all for watching. As usual, if you found this video helpful in any way, liking, commenting, and subscribing is greatly appreciated. And if you made it all the way to the end of the video and don't know what to comment, just leave a comment saying one day and another day, like the Bella Box song, to confuse everyone else. But until next time, bye bye.